Coming up on Big Ten Today, the Boilers have their man. We introduce you to Barry Odom and sit down with the coach now in charge of restoring past glory at Purdue. Dave Wanstead joins me for a deep dive inside the college football playoff bracket. We examine what awaits each of the league's 4 CFP contenders. Plus, as Ohio State heads to the Men's Soccer College Cup, we slow down Midfielder of the Year Michael Adedokun for a one-on-one chat. This is Big Ten Today. Welcome inside this edition of Big Ten Today, fueled by Gatorade. Rick Pizzo joined by Dave Wanstead. This is the time of the year, Coach, where we see all sorts of changes. The carousel is spinning, some coaches departing, others arriving to new programs.
Yes, absolutely. And, everybody's kind of in a position right now where they're evaluating their programs. How are we going to attack this thing, portal, free agent? Do we have enough NIL money? I mean, there's conversations. I talked to some coaches with that going on. It's crazy, but this is what you got to deal with.
It is the world that we live in college football, in all of college sports. Our big story today takes us to West Lafayette, where Purdue has now officially introduced Barry Odom as its next head football coach. Odom is coming off a wildly successful 2-year run at UNLV, which included back-to-back trips to the Mountain West Championship game, the program's first 10-win season in 4 decades, and the 2023 Conference Coach of the Year award for Odom. Here's Odom on what's next in West Lafayette.
I'm more excited today than I was 2 days ago when I arrived. And I think there's opportunities on guys that will want to come play here, and for a number of reasons, because they're going to be coached by great coaches. They've got an opportunity to graduate from one of the most prestigious universities in America, and then we're going to win, and we're going to do it in a way that prepares them for life after sport, but also to go and compete and get drafted in the NFL.
This is right now a turnaround job after Purdue has struggled in 2 years under Ryan Walters, but this is exactly what Barry Odom did at UNLV. When he got there, no one thought anything about the Runnin' Rebels. They play in back-to-back conference championship games, Wani, and win 10 games this past season.
Yeah, and you talk about a guy that's had experience at all levels, going back to his Missouri days at a young age, in his late 30s. So there's going to be nothing that happens today or tomorrow, next week, that Barry hasn't seen before and dealt with. So I think it's a great hire for Purdue, and obviously Barry will be a great fit there. He really will.
Yeah, overall, Odom's UNLV teams won 19 of 27 games in those 2 seasons. His 3rd head coaching journey, as he was also in charge of that Missouri team that Dave mentioned from 2016 through 2019. And while he was there, the only losing season was his first one. His teams have been, as you look at the Gatorade game leaders, to 5 bowl games. The last 5 seasons, each of those teams has become bowl eligible when he's been at the front of the room, and he is the 2023 Mountain West Coach of the Year. Would love to add a Coach of the Year award in the Big Ten to that resume as well. And we are thrilled now that our big interview takes us to West Lafayette as we welcome in Barry Odom. First and foremost, Coach, congratulations. Rick Pizzo, Dave Wanstead alongside with you. Welcome inside the Big Ten.
Thanks so much, guys, for having me on. I appreciate the time. As you know, when you take over a new job, the transition and all the moving parts that happen, but this is certainly at the top of the list to get done, and honored to be a head coach at Purdue University and in the Big Ten Conference. It's a great thing for not only myself, our family, and we're thrilled to get started here.
Well, Barry, coming off the 2-year run that you had at UNLV, you are going to be a highly sought-after commodity in the coaching market this offseason. So why was Purdue the right job for you at the right time?
Well, I think, there's a number of things, as you guys know, that it goes into, number one, alignment with the administration and our athletics director and president and their leadership teams, how important that was, that the vision was aligned, the leadership qualities and what they wanted and thought our program needed to be, and how important that is. Then you look at, obviously, in the Big Ten Conference, the prestige that is every single week in and week out with this league. And then geographically, very similar to where I grew up. I know the region really well from a recruiting standpoint. It fits me from a cultural, the DNA of what the area is in Purdue, West Lafayette, and the surrounding areas, and this brand of ball. What is Purdue going to be known for, can be known for? And then traditionally, you go back to the great success that Coach Tiller had and Coach Brom not that long ago, and how we can get back to that point on playing the brand of being hard, smart, and tough, and playing disciplined, tough football, very, very consistent. So I look forward to getting our feet on the ground and getting started, and been here for about a day and a half, and there's a lot of moving parts happening, but certainly excited to have the opportunity.
Hey, Coach, congratulations on the job, and welcome to the Big Ten. I know that you have your own system, your own formula for how you want to build this football team. Where is the starting point? Is it the current players that you think will fit from a talent standpoint, from a culture standpoint? Is it the portal? Is it high school recruiting? Getting out there in the schools. Where's the starting point, and kind of what would your priority be moving forward?
Yeah, number one, Coach, great to see you. A lot of respect for you. We had a team meeting yesterday, and I think the most important part is the relationship building with the current team, and making sure, especially now with the opportunities that they have with the portal open. I really, everybody that was in the team meeting yesterday, I want them to stay part of this process and this plan, because if they look at it and we go all in together, we're going to achieve great things together. It'll be one of the most rewarding experiences they've ever had athletically. So number one, it's making sure that we do everything we can to be open, to be honest, to communicate, and make sure we try to keep this roster together. I understand also we're going to lose some guys, we'll gain some guys, but foundationally, we've got to attack high school recruiting. My last 3 cycles, we've signed 68 high school players. I think that's really, really important to build the foundation of a program. And then we've been very, very aggressive, and it's been rewarding to us in the transfer and the portal world on making sure that we address needs of our roster. So we'll approach it the same way here. I think there is a great value in identifying talent and making sure you get them in the program, and then developing guys in the program within your system to set the culture of what it's going to look like. So I'm excited about that process. It's never ending. As you know, you're recruiting your own roster. You're making sure you make connections within the state and the areas that you're going to recruit, and then selectively being selected direct about the guys that you're going to invite to come visit in the transfer world.
Barry, UNLV does have a bowl game to play, so how does that affect you filling out your staff and other carryover details that may be related to your most recent job?
Yeah, one of the most important things is the staff that we'll put together. It will be an elite staff that is aligned and play complementary football in all 3 phases. The guys that I'm talking to right now to fill the assistant coaches roles, every one of them still is currently either in the playoff picture, in the CFP games, or in a bowl game. So there's a lot of things that are happening. Maybe I don't want to put the time frame on when we'll make those announcements, but I feel really strongly about the group that we'll be able to put together to mentor, to guide, to lead these student athletes, and to play championship ball.
Barry, how do you view the Big Ten today, maybe in comparison to just a couple of years ago even? I believe your first game as head coach at UNLV was against Michigan, and so much has changed in the 2 years since. What's your view of the Big Ten now as you step in as a head coach compared to where it was when you were at UNLV and before that in Columbia?
Well, you look at every single week, the brand of our conference. You go anywhere in the world, and the Big Ten is going to be recognized. And every single week, if you're not prepared and your habits don't align, you'll be exposed. So there's great players, there's tremendous coaches, and honored to be a part of it. I think the brand of the league speaks for itself. The opportunities that the national championship will run through the Big Ten, and to be a part of that, I'm certainly excited.
Hey, Coach, I remember when I took the pit job in the Big East Conference, and West Virginia with Rich Rodriguez, they were one of the first teams running that spread offense. Great speed, great talent. We had to adjust a little bit, at least I did. I didn't feel like we could compete with them to win the championship unless we could match up with them. My question would be do you give that any thought as you look at Indiana, your biggest rivalry, and the rest of the Big Ten, like Rick was saying, as far as the type of athletes, the type of players that you need to have in the program to win the Big Ten championship?
Absolutely. You've got characteristics that you recruit to, physical measurements, the different things with that. And then it gets into the things that you can't measure on paper, the discipline, the heart, the want to be a great football player, the habits, all of those things that go into it. But just this league in general, it's going to be a line of scrimmage league. If you're not built the right way up front, offensive, defensive line, the front seven defensively, it's going to be really hard to maintain success. You've also got to have dynamic playmakers that can make plays out in space, the way that the college game has adjusted. And then offensively, the ability to run the ball effectively, doing that and being able for that to then open up the linear passing game. We've got a lot of opportunities to create what we want the roster to look like. And we understand to be able to compete at the highest level to win in this league, we got a lot of work to do.
Barry, let's finish here. I know you've been on the job and in town for only about a day and a half, but give us a snapshot of what the next week to 2 weeks will look like for you as you try to get settled in a little bit with not a lot of time and the portal open for another couple of weeks.
Yeah, look at, number one, our players are in finals week right now, so they're going through that. Some are already off campus, so I've tried to met with the team yesterday and then have as many individual meetings as I can. They don't know me, and all I'm asking is just to give me an opportunity, give me a chance. I'll build the trust on what that's going to look like, all while making sure that you're doing the recruiting things you need to in the portal, finding out who's available, who can we get in on a visit, putting the staff together, making calls to donors and influential people within the program, and then getting a feel for the campus, getting a feel for the community and the state. We've got great high school coaches here. We've got tremendous high school programs, how important that's going to be to our success on making the inroads there. So it's fun. I love building programs, love the opportunity to put things together. And we got a lot of work to do, and I'm excited about. We won't back down from any challenge. It's a lot of fun on putting these things together. It'll be fun when we get our staff together, and it'll be here before we know it.
Barry Odom is the newest head coach inside the Big Ten, taking over at Purdue. Coach, again, congratulations. Thanks so much for the time. Really look forward to working with you, following you in the Purdue program.
Thanks, guys. Boiler up.
3 of the Big Ten's 4 playoff contenders open their respective CFP schedules next week. Indiana kicks things off against Notre Dame on Friday, December 20th, while both Penn State and Ohio State host games the following day. SMU will be in State College. Tennessee will be in Columbus. That winner heads to the Rose Bowl for a date with top overall seed Oregon. And this is great stuff from Notre Dame coach Marcus Freeman, who sat down at his press conference after the announcement of being in the CFP to discuss the showdown with Indiana, and Big Ten Coach of the Year Curt Cignetti said, quote, "I took a minute and Googled him," end quote, playing off Coach Sig's now famous "Google me, I win." Rick Pizzo back with another guy who won a lot. On the coaching sidelines, Dave Wanstead. It's funny stuff from Marcus Freeman because really Curt Cignetti usually steals all the media appeal with the things that he has to say. I do feel like Indiana's in a great spot here, Dave. They're considered a big-time underdog. I know they have to go on the road, but this is a team all year that has been fighting for respect, even being inside the college football playoff. I'm not sure they've gotten the respect they deserve.
No, you know what? And usually when you get into these playoff games, what happens is it's a new experience for you. So from a coach, you say, how much do we have to meet? When do we want to put the game plan in so it's not too early? How much contact do we want to have? Physical practice, live stuff, meetings. All these things have to be worked out. Guess what? Coach Cignetti's been to the playoffs 18 times between Division I, Division II. You look at his, you Google him, okay?
Yeah.
Google him, and it's real. I mean, so he has a winning formula. He has a plan on how much the team needs to do, what do the coaches need to do, how do you balance the recruiting part of it at the same time of getting ready, for a bowl game, for a playoff game. So this is nothing new for Curt, and he's going to have a good plan. And I'll tell you, Notre Dame, both these teams are in the top 10 in the country with scoring offense and scoring defense. So we got 2 outstanding football teams. Sig's playing with Haas money. He's going for the championship, but Notre Dame better be ready because in their minds and their people, they can't lose this game. They're coming into their backyard with an in-state team that's got some swagger, and you better be Googling. That's all I'm saying, because they're a dangerous team.
And I think you make a great point. Folks say, well, 18, because, yes, he was on staffs at places like Alabama, brought James Madison to the FCS postseason on multiple occasions. As you mentioned, Division II before then. Maybe Nick Saban's on the speed dial over the next couple of weeks. I know Coach Saban's busy, but Curt Cignetti's got a relationship with all these guys, right? If you're in that position, don't you pick up the phone and call other guys who have played in games like this?
I was texting with him his dad recruited me out of high school, okay? His brother...
Couple of Yinzers, Pittsburgh guys.
His brother was my offensive coordinator at Pitt. You know what else he did? He brought all his assistant coaches with him. The offensive coordinator who played for me at Pitt, too, I sound like a broke, but Mike Shanahan, he's been with Sig for 9 years. So he brought coaches with him that just don't know the system, but they know the formula to get ready to play a game like this. That's important, trust me.
And how fun that the playoff starts with in-state rivals. Inside one of the cathedrals of college football. It's a Friday night at Notre Dame. Touchdown Jesus watching over Indiana and Notre Dame. Can't wait. What a great way to get the college football playoff started. So that is Friday night. Meanwhile, on Saturday night in Columbus, it's the 8-9 showdown. It's Ohio State and Tennessee. You talked about some pressure on Marcus Freeman. Ryan Day is feeling it, and I don't think there's any doubt about it. He sets out the same goals before the beginning of every year, makes them public. Win the Big Ten, beat Michigan, win the national championship. Failed to win the Big Ten, lost to Michigan for a 4th straight year. Now you have to win 4 games to win the national championship. In Tennessee, this is not going to be an easy test, even though they're at home. The Vols can get up and down the field, Wani, and they can score.
And they can score and they can play defense. They are 8th scoring in the nation. They're 4th in defense in the nation. I think the toughest draw of any team opening week of the opening round is Tennessee. Tennessee is a talented, battle-tested team. I mean, this is not going to be easy. And here's what I think needs to happen at Ohio State. I think Ryan Day, and we talk about pressure, that's going to be the word forever at Ohio State. I get that. Pressure is something you feel when you don't know what the heck you're doing. I believe he knows what he's doing. He knows what he's doing. There is a group of players that could be playing in the National Football League, as we talked about earlier. Dozens that came back for this opportunity. So I think that Ryan, this week, he has to display in his personality, in his coaching, in his meeting time with the players, a sense of confidence, that not the pressure. You know, and there's a fine line between being cautious and that pressure, this look on your face, and hey, let's go. You know what I mean? And that go get them. This is a great opportunity for us type of mentality. I think that's a big deal because these players, they watch the head coach and they want to see how he's responding going into this thing. And I think his approach with the team and how they handle this leading up to it is critical, is really important.
Well, it's also such a veteran team and a team that I don't think anyone expected to lose a game to this Michigan team, which had struggled offensively all year long inside the horseshoe. I mean, we spoke with Cody Simon and a bunch of other guys before the year started, and they basically said, we're coming back for this last year because we don't have a pair of gold pants. And our careers will not be considered complete successes unless we have gold pants. They don't have them. Now, to get a national championship would certainly ease a lot of that burden on these players, but there's no doubt it has gotten to that point for Ohio State where it is, in fact, natty or bust because the first 2 goals have gone by the wayside. Penn State played arguably, Dave, its best 60 minutes, even though it gave up 45 to Oregon. A lot of folks give up 45 to Oregon. Had a great chance to win the Big Ten championship game. I love that the College Football Playoff Committee lived up to what it said. The committee said it would not punish teams for losing championship games as long as they were competitive. They didn't punish Penn State. Nittany Lions have a home game, and I think the Nittany Lions have a pretty nice draw.
Yeah, I was really impressed with James Franklin and what they did against Oregon. I really was, particularly offensively. And the thing that they did, they were balanced in my mind. They ran the ball. You know, they got 2 outstanding.
Couple of 100-yard rushers.
Thank you. They got some outstanding talent. But here's the key, and I've watched SMU a couple of times. SMU the first thing James Franklin's got to do is half these players probably don't have much respect for SMU. Sometimes we used to say this, and I remember Jimmy Johnson talking about it. Sometimes games like this, you got to cause a crisis, Rick. You got to get your team's attention as far as what the heck we're facing this week, guys. This is not the old this is SMU right now that's given up 2.8 yards a carry, okay, for the season. This is an SMU team that their quarterback, I got his name here. What is it? Jennings,
terrific.
Right? I mean, this guy can fly. And they've got talent, okay? Down there in Texas, they are getting a lot of talent. They're well coached. They've earned these wins. They can't do anything about who they play. So to me, it's about Penn State focusing on them and making sure that mentally they have the same approach that they had last week in the Big Ten championship. If that's what they got to come into. Penn State's offensive line has improved. I mean, I think they're much better. James, go out there and pound these guys. It won't be easy, but pound them, and then that'll open up the passing game, And I got a lot of confidence in Tom Allen. He's going to be fine. The one thing about them, let me say this. The thing that I thought happened, it wasn't the scheme that Penn State had defensively against, in the championship game. That wasn't what, what it was that I thought? Was the speed. And I would coach in teams like that when we played the Oklahomas of the world and so forth, that their players were faster than ours. And it takes, sometimes you just physically are a half a step late because of the speed. Well, SMU's got some of these guys. I'm not saying they're Oregon guys, don't get me wrong, but they're going to show up the same way. So that's the one thing that if I'm Tom Allen, that I'm really looking at and I'm really talking about is the speed and the athletic of these guys, not necessarily the scheme. And I think that they'll get that figured out. But it's making sure that we are at the same level emotionally that we were when we played the Big Ten championship game against
And
Oregon.
I think they will be. It's a playoff game inside Beaver Stadium. Even though it's a noon Eastern kick, It is a whiteout. James Franklin has said he wants 2 whiteouts. The first one he controls, that's the fan base. Right. The second one, that's Mother Nature. He wants nasty weather for SMU. Don't control that, but always a good chance that you get a little bit of that on December 21st.
Don't assume. Don't you assume.
In State College. I love their draw. Should they win, they go to the Fiesta Bowl and take on Boise State. Absolutely. As for Oregon, your Big Ten champions, the number 1 overall seed, Dillon Gabriel is a Heisman Trophy finalist, the Big Ten Offensive Player of the Year, Quarterback of the Year, joins Ashton Genty, Travis Hunter, Cam Ward as guys who will be going to New York as Heisman finalists. Also named the AP Offensive Player of the Year just moments ago. Dillon Gabriel just keeps racking up the awards. Here's a guy who now owns the NCAA's all-time record for total touchdowns accounted for. Congratulations, Dillon Gabriel, AP Offensive Player of the Year. As for the rest of this team, it waits to play. January 1st, Rose Bowl. It'll be Ohio State or Tennessee. Dave, I have been so impressed. And I'm going to start off the field with the way that these guys talk and discuss the team bond and what Dan Lanning has done. If you listen to them, they're all mini coaches. Tez Johnson actually told our crew in Indianapolis that before the fourth quarter in the champ game, he went to Dan Lanning and said, Coach, we need your best 15 minutes. That's a team that's connected.
Oh, I love it. You're right on point, Rick. And I'll tell you, I forget what game we were talking about after they had a big win, and I wanted to hear Gabriel say something, and all he said was, well, yeah, we won, but we got a lot of growing to do.
And that's Dan Lanning talking.
And that's Dan. And I turned to River and Jerry Donovan, and I says, that's exactly what he heard in the locker room. I mean, but you know what else I love about Lanning? Lanning is how he coaches on the sideline. God, he lives and dies every play. And, and that's contagious with your players. But
look at him right there amongst the crowd.
Oh, yeah, I love it. But here's the trick to this one. Okay, and I'm telling you now, there's a lot of time. Let me back up. This is the first time that college footballs have had a bye, right? That we've never had a system where our teams had a week off. If you go back, and I don't know if this is going to be factual or not, but in the NFL that has a bye, since they started in the year 2000, 79% of the time, a team that's had a bye has made it to the championship.
They're well rested. They're healthy.
So there is an advantage to this, but here's the other key. I'm going to reference another time. We're getting ready to play for the national championship, Penn State. Okay, I'm at Miami. And I had all these play, and Jimmy walked by and said, what do you guys? I said, boy, you need to see this. I think, he says, Dave, and he grabbed the marker, and he went up to the board, and he wrote, don't get bored. In other words, we're here because we do some good things. And do we have to improve? Sure. But we do not need to change and get our players confused. And ever since he did that, for the 25 years, 30 years I coached after that, first meeting, I write on the board to my defensive coaches mainly, don't get bored. It's both ways. But, I mean, that's a real key for Oregon right now with the extra time.
No, they're not going to get bored, and they're not going to be thrown off by having the extra time. Dan Lanning told our crew that after the championship game on Saturday night, they had every scenario laid out. Bye, no bye, every day, every practice, every workout session, every team meeting had been mapped out in each way had they won or lost a championship game. Here's a guy who dots all his I's, crosses all of his T's, and makes sure that his O's are just perfect in green and gold.
Oh, nice.
All right, more postseason convo still to come. How about Michigan and Bama meeting for the second straight season following last year's Rose Bowl epic? We roll with the Tide and Wolverines when Big Ten Today returns right after this. The Big Ten will send a full 2/3 of the league to a postseason appearance, 12 of the 18 member schools earning and accepting bowl invites. 3 other teams, Michigan State, UCLA, and Wisconsin, each came up just 1 win short of bowl eligibility. Michigan was 1 win on the right side. Remember, they were playing Northwestern. Everybody thinking they had to win this game because you're not going to win in Columbus. They go and win both. Now, for the second straight year, they'll face Alabama in the postseason. And I know last year's game, obviously much more important. It was the national semifinal at the Rose Bowl. But anytime you play a brand like this, 2 brands meeting in the postseason, it means a lot for recruiting, for a lot of other stuff. What do you think this one means for Sharon Moore?
Well, I think, just what you talked about, recruiting, I think he's proven himself as the years gone on. You can see, at least, I observed the maturity and how I think he's handling the sideline, the players. And the biggest thing is figuring out his offense. I mean, he was the offensive coordinator, and that's where, to me, the indecision early in the year on the quarterback thing was driving everybody crazy, I'm sure, including himself. So I think it was probably halfway through that Indiana game when they finally settled in on Warren Davis and what
Davis Warren,
and Alex Orji, what they can do in their strengths and how to use them both in combination with that running game, which is outstanding. So I think he's matured as a head coach. He's figured out this offense, who can do what. And I got to give Wink Martindale some love.
He did a nice job.
Oh, he did a great job. I'll tell you what, an experienced guy that has coached all pro players, Hall of Fame players, and now he's in college at Michigan. And what's different, you might say? Well, I'll tell you what's different. In the NFL, you're not seeing the run-pass option like you're seeing almost every week. So the run game in college is a lot more sophisticated than it was in the NFL. And he has done a great job, not only just scheme-wise, but I think he's done a great job of these players are playing hard for him, Rick.
And think about Michigan with the struggles. They could finish with wins over Ohio State and Alabama to cap off this season. What a change that would make on the way that we look at the Michigan season. As for Illinois, what an unbelievable run. The Illini have a chance to get to 10 wins. That would tie an all-time program record. Brett Bielema has done a great job. Pat Bryant had an outstanding year, but they have a tough matchup with a South Carolina team that's won 6 straight by an average of 20 per game.
Yeah, you just hit it on the head. But let's give both teams a little bit of credit. Illinois' averaged about 38 points a game. Their last 3 games, they have gotten better, in my opinion.
I agree.
As you just said, South Carolina's done it for the last 6 weeks. So you got both well-coached teams, both talented teams that have improved as the season has gone on. And, it should be a heck of a football game. The biggest thing that I see that's missing here, obviously, is Luke Altmaier going to have is his receiving core? I mean, it's been Patrick Bryant, right? He's
Pat
the guy.
Bryant's been phenomenal.
He's been phenomenal, and he's gone. So the way Brett's been doing on offense, it's been running back by committee, right? And now I think it's going to be receiver by committee, and how that all washes out is going to be huge because they're going to have to score some points in this game. There's no doubt about it.
Speaking of receiver by committee and quarterback issues, as we've just discussed, that's kind of been the storyline for Iowa's offense. Yet the Hawks have found a way to score points this year, over 40 on multiple occasions. Trouble is, in their Music City Bowl matchup with Missouri, they do not have K2. Caleb Johnson has already said he's not playing, getting ready for the draft.
Yeah, it's hiring Tim Lester, I know was a tough decision for Kirk, but it has made a difference. They doubled, 28 points a game. That's been improvement. But a lot has to do with that offensive line, which is improved. So I think if you're Kirk Ferentz, you're sitting back looking and say, okay, we lost Caleb Johnson. We know that. But the strength of our team right now, because of the quarterback, merry-go-round, the strength of our team on offense is running the ball still. So regardless of who it is or how many it is, hey, we got to lean on that run game. We got to control the clock. And we got to come up, our defense is going to have to play lights out. I think that's the winning formula, which is nothing new. I mean,
that's what they do.
That's what they do. So it would be nice to get a few plays out of the quarterback for Iowa just to have a resemblance of being balanced. You don't want to be one-dimensional and let Missouri just tee off on you, because any team then is going to play pretty good.
Iowa, Missouri, December 30th in the Music City Bowl. Let's touch on USC. I know this wasn't the year that Lincoln Riley expected, had hoped for, especially after they opened the season with that huge win over LSU. They do get back to a bowl. He made a quarterback change midseason, went with the young guy, Jaden Mayava. Miller Moss has already said he's hitting the transfer portal. And so for the second year in a row, I think this bowl game is really important for USC, not just this year, but looking ahead to 25.
I think that's the key. I think last year, remember, Miller Moss had the big bowl game, 5 touchdowns, and then he became the guy. Well, I think they're looking at Jaden right now the same way, because let's face it, USC could go out, I got to believe, and I don't think I'm wrong on this, and have a top pick at a portal quarterback. Right, Rick? So I think that right now Lincoln Riley's saying, is Jaden my guy for the future? And this is going to be a game where he's going to get an opportunity to go out and prove it, or do I have to go for the portal? That's the biggest decision. Their run game, their defense got better. They ended up about the middle of the pack.
Dan Lynn did a nice job.
He did a nice job. Then, they were at the bottom everywhere last year, and so they moved up halfway. They'll continue to get better on defense. They're going to get good skill guys. We know that. Quarterback is the key. And they're playing against the number 14 team, and it's Texas A&M. And we remember Mike Elko, their head coach, was at Notre Dame.
Yep.
As a defensive coordinator. Then he was the head coach at Duke. So they're going to have a good plan. It's not going to be easy offensively, but I think he's going to put the quarterback in there under fire and say, hey, let's see what you can do.
A&M struggled late in the year, but they're a very talented, dangerous team that a month ago we were talking about as a college football playoff contender. Right. USC, Texas A&M, December 27th out in Las Vegas. All right, we'll transition to what the rest of the world calls football after the break. Ohio State men's soccer playing in the Final Four this weekend. We get you ready next with a sit-down alongside the Big Ten Midfielder of the Year. Ohio State is on its way to the College Cup, the men's soccer version of the Final Four. The Buckeyes knocked off Wake Forest 3-0 in the quarterfinals over the weekend and will now face Marshall Friday night in Cary, North Carolina, with the winner advancing to Monday's national title game. In advance of that, we take you to Columbus. Michael Adedokun, the Big Ten Midfielder of the Year, joining us. Michael, before we get to you guys heading to Cary, North Carolina, I want to go back to this past weekend when one of your teammates, Nathan Demian, was shot off campus in an incident in which he was not in an altercation, is in no way a suspect, just a victim of that shooting. And it was shortly after you guys got back from the win over Wake Forest. What is the team doing right now to support Nathan, to support each other, and how are you all feeling emotionally as you get set for such an important Final Four matchup?
I mean, at first when we heard about the news, everybody was down, but right now the coaches and the university are doing all their possible best just to make sure everybody keep their head straight going into the weekend.
So as we get back onto the soccer pitch, I want to take you back to that win over Wake in the quarterfinals. You guys are in charge of the game. You're up 3-0 as the clock is winding down, the final seconds starting to tick away, and you realize that you guys are going to the College Cup. What were the emotions like?
I mean, everybody was very happy, It's something that we already won from the beginning of the season, and then, that's why everybody is putting in the work. Seeing yourself playing in the College Cup is something huge and amazing for every one of us. So, me personally, as a person, that's probably going to be my last game at the home for Ohio State, and I'm very happy I was able to keep this smile in front of our fans.
Yeah, a chance that the career could end with a national championship. You scored twice in that game, including once on a PK. What is your approach when you step to the line for a penalty?
I mean, nothing much, no pressure. It's just like the first chance for us to go ahead in the game. So me personally, as one of the senior in the team, I think like stepping there is the time for me to show like hey, who I am, like put the team on my shoulder, and then like I went there and I get a goal. So which is something great.
How much of it is a predetermined decision based on your skill set, what you've seen from the keeper in the past, and how much is just reaction on what the keeper is doing in the moment that you're about to deliver the kick?
I don't focus on the keeper. I focus on myself. I focus on how I'm going to contact the ball. The power I'm going to generate. So that's why, like, if you look at my technique, I pump my feet just to make sure like I get enough power. So whether it gets right or it gets wrong, I don't really care. So I just have to do what I have to do.
Michael, why has this team as a whole been so good and so consistent all year long?
I think like the cordial relationship that we have as a brother is something that play a huge role in our success this season. Because even the freshmen, they are welcome in the team, and then that's one thing that is unique about our team, because everybody is like a brother. We are more than a teammate to each other. So we just show up, with smile on our face, get the goal. Whosoever get the goal, we all celebrate together as a brother.
You're the first preseason team to be unranked before the year started and then end the regular season ranked as #1. When did you personally know that this team had a chance to be as good as it has become?
After the first game, we tied the first game at home against Cleveland State, which is something like everybody was fired up a little bit. We are worried, like, because the last season wasn't good. And then our first game of the season, we tied. So, which is not something that we want. So everybody just in the locker room, I remember we talked to ourselves before even the coach come into the picture. So we talked to ourselves like, hey, guys, we need to step up more, give more than what we did last season if we really want to be the best team in the country. So, and then, like, everybody is one game at a time. Everybody keep doing what we're doing, give more than 100%. I would say that. So, because, like, everybody just want to work, show up, work hard for each other. And that's what's, really, 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 like, show more on the field that make us, like, one of the best teams in the country.
And the next step for one of the best teams in the country, the #1 ranked team, is a Friday night date with Marshall. Now, the Herd are the number 13 seed, so they weren't expected to get here. Obviously, they're playing some very good soccer to be able to reach this stage of the NCAA tournament. In the scouting that you guys have done so far, what can you tell us about the team you'll see Friday night?
I mean, Marshall is a very, really, really good program. They've been very consistent with what they do. So, and then we just need to focus on what we've been doing all season long. So right now it's all about us, ourselves. So we just focus on how we play. So, and then, like, I'm pretty sure coach is going to take care of the tactics and aspects. So.
You have a much different background than most American college soccer players. So tell us a little bit about what your youth was like growing up in Nigeria.
I mean, I grew up in a very small community called Erua, Nigeria. So that's my hometown. So growing up, everybody just play on the street. So my parents, they never in support of me playing soccer. So which is like, they actually want me to go to school. So where I can get my degree, maybe become a doctor, or maybe a lawyer, or maybe like a journalist. So that's what they want. But for me, soccer has been like something that make me happy from when I was small. And then like, I started playing, I was part of I joined an academy in my community. Then from my academy, so I went to boarding school like the International College and Sport Academy before I got a scholarship to come to the U.S. to come and play.
From my research, I understand that your mom was fairly adamant that she really did not want you to play soccer. What eventually changed her mind?
I mean, she never wanted me to play soccer, but, because of the way everybody always carried me in our community, like, yeah, he's really good, he's really talented, My mom feels somehow, about it because, like, soccer is not a job back at home. Everybody just say that, like, you are not serious when you're playing soccer. So, but for me, it's more than a job for me. Soccer is just basically my life. So, because everything that I've become in life, I became it through soccer. So people that I met along the line, soccer has brought everyone to me. So for me, when she doesn't support me, she wasn't support me at first. I was like, okay, you know what? I'll have to sneak out to go and play. So, but later on, you can't be sneaking out every time. And then crowd that are watching you, they will come and give my mom report. At some times, at some point, she's gonna, be mad about it. But it gets to some point, when she saw me playing the national TV, and she was just crying, oh my God, maybe I've been denying him a lot of opportunity. So, and then that's when she realized, it's time for me to let this kid play.
And it's time for that kid to now play in the Final Four. What would a 15 or 16-year-old Michael Adedokun have said if I had told him then that in some 7-8 years' time, he would be playing for an NCAA soccer championship at a university in the United States located in the state of Ohio?
I mean, there's no doubt about it, because for me, it's all about the hard work, every single day. Me personally, I never in doubt of my ability of where I can play, and then playing for Ohio State right now is a big privilege for me. And then I'm never in doubt.
It has been great to get to know Michael Adedokun a little bit better. He is your Big Ten Midfielder of the Year, helping lead Ohio State into the College Cup this coming weekend. Buckeyes set to take on Marshall in the national semifinal on Friday night. Michael, we truly appreciate the time. Best of luck to you and the team, and of course, our best wishes to Nathan and his family and the Ohio State soccer family as a whole.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Michigan State doesn't play Tuesday night, but there are a handful of solid games on both the men's and women's side, including Juju Watkins in action for USC as the Trojans are at home against Fresno State. You can also see Great Osobor and the Washington men on the Big Ten Network. Those two games coming up Tuesday at 9 and 11 o'clock Eastern, respectively. Caitlin Clark has been named Time's Athlete of the Year. Former Iowa star and all-time scoring leader in NCAA history, led the Hawks to back-to-back title games, more importantly, leading a massive surge of popularity in women's basketball and women's college sports along the way. Clark was also named the WNBA Rookie of the Year. As for the year 2025 in the world of Big Ten football, we unveil all the conference matchups on Big Ten Live. The 2025 football schedule release special comes your way Wednesday at 2 Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific, only on the Big Ten Network and the Fox Sports app. Can't let Coach go without some Coach speak as we look back on the jobs done by three men inside the Big Ten. And we'll call Dan Lanning Mr. Universe because he covers pretty much everything.
Oh, he does. And, every coach talks about culture. Listen to his players talk after every game. And it doesn't matter if it's Gabriel, a Heisman candidate, or a first-year player. They're always sending the same message. And that's because, number one, they believe in the culture. A lot of these guys say, we got a good culture. If you ask their players, you're not getting the same response. And he lives every play. If I'm playing for Dan Lanning, you better show up, Rick, emotionally and physically ready to go, because you know he's going to be on the sideline. It's going to be about 2 plays, and he'll be in a full sweat, and he'll be living and dying every play with you. I love that.
Well, the next time we see him living and dying will be inside the Rose Bowl. Yep. Quarterfinals after earning that first-round bye as the #1 overall seed in the CFP. Let's go to the Twin Cities now. PJ Fleck, we'll call him Mr. Motivator. Once again, perhaps you could make the argument outside Curt Cignetti, doing more with less, chance for another 8-win season, back to another bowl game for Fleck and the Gophers.
You got to love what PJ does. And I had the opportunity a couple years ago to go up there and spend some time with him during training camp. So I was with him 24/7 basically. And let me tell you something. Is he motivating guys in the team meeting? Absolutely. Is he motivating them on the practice field, running up and down the field? Absolutely. This guy motivates them when they're having lunch, Rick. I'm telling you, he's talking in your ear when the guy's trying to bite into a hamburger. He's amazing, and he gets the most out of his players.
You got to let your guys eat. Meanwhile, what about Coach Cignetti? Coach Sig, as he's known. How about Mr. Swag? Because this guy talked the talk, and then his team all year long walked the walk.
They do, and he's doing it not with 5-star recruits. So, one, he's a great evaluator, a great developer, him and his staff. But, yeah, how about your first press conference in front of the students? and you start talking about how you're going to get after the Big Ten opponents, Purdue, and on and on and on. And he never backed away from that. Google him.
How
You'll
about
see.
dropping more than 60 against Purdue and going to the college football playoff? If only we had known and placed a pretty penny on the Hoosiers to get to the CFP before the year had begun.
Playoffs, keep an eye.
Not that I advocate that. For Dave Wanstead, I'm Rick Piso. Thanks for watching Big Ten Today.